Hi and welcome. Today I have the opportunity to interview Claus Elsborg Olesen, who's the CEO of Initiator Pharma. Very welcome, Claus.
Thank you very much, Claus.
2023, you have reported it, the financials today, and it was an eventful year with a lot of good data from your side. Maybe you could just sum it up for us in a brief way.
I'll be happy to do so, Claus. Yeah, indeed, 2023 has been a very hectic year and active year for us, but it's also been a very successful year. You can say us as a small company, we have been conducting multiple trials. First of all, we have completed the phase 2A for 2018 in psychogenic erectile dysfunction. We have also completed a phase 1 pharmacokinetic study of the new solid dosage that we have made of IP 2018 and pudafensine for future use in clinical trials. And also, most recently, we came out with the data on the phase 2B for pudafensine in organic erectile dysfunction. And it's a privilege to be working with such a great team that can deliver on these. And one thing that is outside of our control, of course, do we get positive results? We can set up a trial to kind of deliver the right results, but actually what we have gotten, we got positive results because statistically significant efficacy in the two trials where we looked at patients, and also in the solid dosage form with the pharmacokinetic, we actually got a profile that matches this, you can say the soluble solution that we have used before. So meaning, again, that this is actually a dosage form we can use in the future. So it's been a very successful year in that respect. So lots of exciting data that we can now, continue moving on with our business development effort. In addition to that, of course, we also announced more recently that we are looking into the female sexual dysfunction space as well, where we have seen that both pudafensine and IP 2018 actually has efficacy. And of course, there's been a lot of questions. Can one just start a phase 2 study in women's health? And of course, we have only dosed men so far, so you would need to do some small minor study to do that when you go that way. But at this point, we are very much focused on the data we have with the clinical assets we have, and we're looking forward to continue the business development effort with these data.
Sounds very good. And I want to stick a little bit to the financial, maybe we just could comment on Q4, because you actually showed a positive result, and that's due to this tax in Denmark.
Yeah, we get a tax rebate. Yeah, I can do that. So on the research that you spent in the year before, so this is the tax rebate from 2022 that's paid out in November of the following year. So and that can be up to about 750,000 euros that you can get reimbursed. So of course, again, sharing that, how can a tax rebate actually suddenly makes a profit for the company? Then that's because we have a very low burn. We spend money on clinical trials, and that's where the majority of our money goes. And the rest of the money that we spend on keeping the infrastructure is very limited. So you can say, so that's why we see this positive. But it's also, of course, it's nice to get refunds, but of course it is money that we have spent that we're getting back in tax authorities from the Danish government.
Yeah. Of course. And you also reported recently that your CRO, MAC, converted their convertible bond or convertible debt into shares. Would you perhaps tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so MAC has been our partner for a long time in doing the clinical trials, and back in the day when we started discussing or actually running the phase 2 trial for pudafensine in organic erectile dysfunction, we were looking how to finance that, and we had a dialogue with MAC and the leadership and the ownership at MAC if they would be interested, and they said, yeah, we would actually like to take part of that. And at that time we made the deal that they paid a 70% premium to the share price in the convertible. So the meaning that they would take care of all the costs for the clinical study. We had to pay the pass-throughs and databases and so on, and recruitment costs, but they took care of all the infrastructure at the Mac clinic. And that, of course, came now when we received the final report from the study, then they actually could convert that, and they decided to do that at a 7.5 Swedish crown. But again, it was a 70% premium when they actually signed the agreement. So we are really excited to have MAC on board here. it's really interesting to, having somebody who also understands the indications that we are working with, but also who sees the potential of pudafensine in the future going to the market.
Yeah, great news actually. I mentioned in the report in the CEO letter that you initiated some sort of intensified BD development at JP Morgan this year. Could you give us some information what has happened so far?
Yeah, so you can say at the last JP Morgan a year ago, we didn't have any data to show. We had, as I said, a lot of upcoming data. So of course, when we had the data, most of it we started showing at Bio Europe, where we meet a lot of the European companies, a lot of these companies that are primarily focused on the European market. So we showed data there, and then we followed up at JP Morgan, also looking at even more broadly, looking at the Asian markets and also looking very much at the US market. And it was, you can say it's some new companies, but a lot of the companies that we're speaking to are companies that we have been continuing ever since the first phase 1 study that, we showed that it was safe to administrate pudafensine. And then we're actually now showing that we have efficacy in the phase 2b study. So it was really great to be back at JP Morgan. We definitely feel a vibe at JP Morgan in general. The last couple of years, maybe it's a little bit more slow, but we see pharma out there actually are interested in doing deals. And we see, both from a lot of the big consultancy firms that they believe there will be a maintenance or even a further upswing in the M&A activities of 2024. And we definitely feel that there's a lot of interest in assets that have demonstrated efficacy in the clinic, but also has a safety profile that we have demonstrated. So it's good times to be out there presenting our data.
And when you're talking to potential partners, are they also interested in the whole package, so to speak, with both pudafensine and IP2018?
Yeah, so it's a very, very broad range of interest. You can say in general, when the ED component is of course, some companies are more interested in men's sexual health than others, and there's some that already has a franchise here selling products in this space that definitely has an interest primarily in this product. However, with the announcement of the opportunity to expand with the female sexual dysfunction, making more what we can call a sexual dysfunction franchise, we definitely saw interest from new players that actually could see that there was really good opportunities here to cover both women and men with the same safe drug, but also we brought in some of the women health companies saying, okay, hey, there is an interest here. So I think that it's often debated, could you do something for both parties? And actually, I think we have now clinical data showing we could do it in men, preclinical that we can do it in females. And so that definitely sparked additional interest. But I can say in addition to the sexual dysfunctions, you can say that the advantage of dosing 130 patients is also you get a good profile of the safety. And as we reported to the market at the effective dose in the ED study, in the phase 2b ED study, we did not see any significant side effects. We actually saw something that was very comparable to placebo. So that, of course, generates that this compound is safe. And if there is a space where you need a safe compound, that's also in the neuropathic pain setting. So you can say now, actually, even though we generate data in the phase 2b for the erectile dysfunction, our data package on the neuropathic pain profile of pudafensine gotten even stronger, because we had the early clinical experiment where we showed in healthy volunteers that we had really good effect on allodynia and hyperalgesia. And now you can say we're adding safety components to that. And there is still a shortage. Despite there has been some progress with some of the pain assets out there recently, we also see a lot of the trials are what we call boutique studies. They're not done properly, they're not placebo controlled, and some of them, they show some effect, but is it in the right setting? So I think that, there is a need for non-opioid treatments out there and that are safe and tolerable. And I think that, that is you can say the cast off, the spin-off of actually completing the ED trials, that we got all the safety data that now even supports the pain release profile of pudafensine.
Sounds very good. Is it possible to get any comments what type of companies that you would be interested in your assets, or is it small pharma, more specialized, or is it large pharmas, or is it a broad-based interest?
I think it's across the board. I would say of the very top pharmas, they are looking for products where they actually, minimum $5-6 billion to get into the market from a get-go. So that's, like a company like Pfizer has a big hole in their revenue stream, right? So for them, it's maybe a little bit still, even though we're looking at a couple of billions with these products, we still maybe a little bit at the low side from them. However, there is some of the larger pharmas that also see that this actually fits into the franchise that they have. They would like to do something more in men's health, and not maybe only men's health, but also neurology. But they would also like to have the component of the female sexual dysfunction, which the women's health gives a good angle. And, it's good opportunities to even generate further revenue on assets having more than one patient segment you can dose, right? And then, of course, we're looking at the next level down. You can say the mid-sized pharmas that, just outside of the top 20, the 20 to 100, that still makes really good money, that are kind of shattered all over the world, both in the US. Some of them are primarily selling in the US, but they are maybe originally Indian-based or Asian-based. And then, of course, the regional players in Asia, the big Chinese pharmas that are, still, bigger than a lot of the pharma companies are in Europe, just a number of employees and revenues and profits and so on. So those are also having an interest. And we definitely see that there's an interest in as we said, in the sexual dysfunction franchise, but also on the pain.
Okay. Perfect. I don't know if you are willing to share some feedback you get from your part of the discussions.
Yes, I can say that, and I'm not going to mention any names though, but I can say that the feedback we get is that, they are really interested in that we have this safety profile. Because of course, as we talked about many times, monoamine modulation has been going on for many years. For example, the Loxetin was used for neuropathic pain developed by Eli Lilly. It's a really good pain asset. However, it has a lot of side effects, changing blood pressure, and it has a black box warning and so on. So, the safety profile that we bring in is something that is new. They're saying, okay, you're actually taking away a lot of these things that we know that happens when you modulate the monoamines. We don't induce sexual dysfunction either with these compounds, right? So yeah, I think that this is something that they're really keen, that the safety package is very well received. They also like very much that, of course, that we are looking into large markets. There's a lot of patients out there that are not treated. Of course, that's a caveat, because when you're going to need to go and do phase 3 trials, you need a lot of patients because it's a very ordinary disease. However, again, it is a large market. You can, even with a small penetrant of the markets, you actually get significant numbers on your peak sales forecast. So I think that what we definitely see here is that they like the safety, they like the efficacy, they like the study design. Often what we hear when they hear about small companies coming out of Denmark or Sweden or the Nordics, but listed on the data, saying, is this a proper conducted study? And when they start looking at the data, they can see that this is done the right way. This is done the big pharma way. Remember Michael Thompson, who's actually in charge of our clinical trials. He is actually the former global head of clinical pharmacology at Novo Nordisk. So he knows how to make the right package going out there and selling to them. So we are not coming with something that we just made on the back of the. We are coming with the state of art, the real data package with all the right profiles and the right placebo-controlled studies that is needed to actually convince the pharma that this is something that it should invest in. So overall, I think it's a good feedback we get. We're also getting feedback, you can say, on is potential ways to increase even the sales of these products. Could there be additional wins? Of course, some of them are speculating in you are charging or targeting the patients that do not respond or who cannot tolerate the current therapies. How much of the existing market could you actually gain with your products due to a safety profile and a differentiated mechanism of action? Not only having a peripheral effect as the PD-5 inhibitors, but actually have a central acting effect with the increased dopamine. So they are very intrigued by that. And I think this is facilitates a lot of the discussions, how to develop that. And you can say on the actual product side, the patent on the new solid dosage form of pudafensine, the capsule, is very well received. And I think that they don't say it directly, but you can see with the CMC guys that some of them are quite impressed the way that we have done it with this new dosage form that we have developed.
Sounds very good and exciting to follow the process during 2024 and forward. But maybe you could also tell us a little bit about what you are aiming to achieve in your programs during 2024 outside of BD.
Yeah, so you can say, so we have, for some time discussed in neuropathic pain. We also have 2 other earlier stage assets in the pipeline that we have talked about, that we are exploring, trying to find out what to use for. And I think we are getting closer here to, especially with one of the assets, what is the right profile indication going forward with that. And we think that is maybe time to start looking more heavily into that. I also think that you can say that, even now we have the data and when you are interpreting the data, one thing is to get the final report, but it is also to process it. What does this mean for future persisting and development? And that's something that takes months after getting the data. Keep on understanding, okay, with this profile, is there anything we could do to do better? And that's something that we are doing pretty much every day. We go to work and thinking about how can we optimize the value of what we are sitting on. So that is the primarily focused. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money, and that's why we actually can see that we are fully financed well into 2025. But it takes a lot of capacity of thinking, right? We need to spend time and do this smart, so we make sure that when we continue the discussion with these interest parties, we actually create also value for them. So there's a bigger likelihood of us receiving a good deal that both parties are benefiting from.
Are you planning to start any clinical studies during 2024?
So we have not announced that, and I think that at this stage we are still evaluating what we want to do. I think that we've gotten questions on the female sexual dysfunction side, and as we announced that previously, we said we want to find somebody to do this with. We think that this is a really interesting area, but we also think that we need to find the right partner to do this going forward, and then we'll see if we can manage to deliver that in 2024.
Okay, sounds very good. Thank you so much, Claus, for the interview.
Thank you very much, Claus, and have a great day and good weekend.
Thank you.